My friends, confidence is not something that falls from the sky one fine morning. It is not a gift wrapped in a box that someone else can give us. True confidence is built slowly, carefully, brick by brick, like constructing a strong home that can weather any storm. And the beauty is, this home doesn't need to be loud, showy, or extravagant. Quiet confidence is far more powerful than noisy arrogance. It is steady, unshakable, and inspiring. Think of a building under construction. At first, there is just an empty plot. Then comes the foundation, the bricks, the cement, the walls, and finally, a structure rises. In the same way, we construct confidence through daily choices, small victories, consistent efforts, and most importantly, by knowing who we truly are. The first and most important brick in building quiet confidence is self-acceptance. Without this, every other effort is like constructing a house on weak soil. It will collapse the moment life shakes it. Many of us think confidence comes from achievements, wealth, beauty, or recognition, but in reality, those things only decorate the surface. The foundation is always self-acceptance. Because if you don't accept yourself as you are, you will never truly feel confident, no matter how much you accomplish. Think of a tree. If the roots are weak, the branches may look green for a while, but when the storm comes, the entire tree can fall. Self-acceptance is like those strong roots. It gives stability from within. Without it, we constantly look for approval outside, and the moment that approval disappears, we collapse. A person who accepts themselves fully doesn't need to pretend, doesn't need to wear a mask, and doesn't need to compare. Their strength comes from the inside, and that is why it is so quiet, so steady, and so beautiful. But here's the challenge. We live in a world that constantly tells us we're not enough. Social media shows us people with perfect bodies, flawless lives, and endless achievements. Advertisements scream that we need to buy this product to look better or that product to feel complete. From childhood, many of us are compared. Look at your cousin, she's doing so well. Or why can't you be like your brother? Slowly, these voices shape our mind into believing that we're not worthy as we are. And so, instead of building confidence, we build insecurity. True transformation begins when we pause and say, I am enough as I am. I may not be perfect, but I am valuable. I have strengths, I have weaknesses, and I embrace both. This shift in mindset is powerful because it frees us from the endless race of proving ourselves. Self-acceptance does not mean complacency. It does not mean saying, I don't need to improve. It means acknowledging, I have flaws, but I am still worthy. I can work on myself, but my worth is not dependent on becoming flawless. Let me share a simple example. Imagine a potter shaping clay into a pot. If he keeps rejecting the clay because it's not perfect in the beginning, he will never create anything. But if he accepts the clay as it is and patiently shapes it, he can create something beautiful. In the same way, we must accept ourselves first. Only then can we shape our growth. Confidence does not grow from rejection of self, but from acceptance of self. Another way to look at it is through relationships. Think of the people you admire the most. Aren't they the ones who feel comfortable in their own skin? They don't pretend to be someone else. They have their quirks, their little imperfections, but they carry them with ease. That ease is what draws people to them. On the other hand, when someone constantly tries to impress, to prove, to hide their flaws, they may seem confident for a moment, but deep down, they are fragile. Their confidence is borrowed, not built. When you accept yourself, you give yourself permission to grow at your own pace. You no longer measure your life against someone else's ruler. You stop asking, am I as good as them? And instead ask, am I better than I was yesterday? This inner shift becomes the first strong brick in building quiet confidence. It doesn't shout, it doesn't seek applause, it doesn't compare. It simply stands firm, like a tree rooted deeply, weathering all seasons with grace. One of the greatest obstacles to building quiet confidence is comparison. From the moment we wake up in the morning, we are surrounded by opportunities to compare ourselves with others. Someone looks better, someone earns more, someone has a bigger house, a faster car, or a more glamorous lifestyle. In today's world of social media, comparison has multiplied 1,000 times. With a simple swipe, we can see hundreds of people living seemingly perfect lives. And when we measure ourselves against that, confidence begins to shrink. But here's the truth: comparison is a thief. It steals not only our joy, but also our growth. Because when we are busy comparing, we stop learning. We focus on what others have instead of what we can become. Quiet confidence, however, is born when we replace comparison with learning. When we look at others not with envy, but with curiosity. What can I learn from them? How can I be inspired by their journey instead of feeling diminished by it? Imagine a student in a classroom. If he constantly compares himself with the top student and feels miserable, he may lose all motivation to study. But if he instead says, "This student is doing well. What can I learn from his methods? Maybe I can improve my own way of studying," then comparison transforms into inspiration. And that shift builds confidence because it is rooted in growth, not jealousy. Let me share an example from nature. Have you ever noticed how flowers in a garden bloom differently? The rose blooms differently from the sunflower differently from the lily, and the lily differently from the tulip. Yet each one is beautiful in its own timing and its own way. A rose doesn't waste its time looking at the sunflower and thinking, "Why am I not tall and golden?" It simply blooms as a rose. Likewise, if a sunflower were to envy the rose for its fragrance, it would miss the gift of its own brightness. Nature teaches us this truth silently every day. Comparison is meaningless when each of us has a unique role, a unique beauty, and a unique timeline. When we learn instead of compare, we shift the focus back to ourselves. Confidence grows when we say, I may not be where they are, but I can grow from where I am. This attitude prevents bitterness and creates humility. It allows us to admire others' achievements without feeling small. And slowly, we begin to celebrate growth in every form, ours and theirs. There's another important aspect here. Comparison is always unfair. Why? Because we often compare our weaknesses with someone else's strengths. We see their highlight reel, but we measure it against our behind the scenes struggles. Of course, it will feel like we're losing. But when we remind ourselves that everyone has their own challenges, unseen and untold, we stop glamorizing their journey and start focusing on our own. Quiet confidence whispers, you are on your own path, and your only competition is who you were yesterday. It does not need to compete in volume or speed. A tree that takes 100 years to grow is not less valuable than a plant that blooms in a season. Each has its place, its timing, and its contribution. So, the moment you feel tempted to compare, pause and ask, what can I learn from this person instead? That single shift can turn envy into empowerment. It can turn discouragement into growth. And slowly, brick by brick, this mindset builds the unshakable confidence that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to prove. It simply grows quietly, steadily, beautifully. One of the strongest and yet most overlooked foundations of quiet confidence is keeping promises to yourself. Think about it. If someone close to you kept breaking their promises, would you trust them? Would you rely on them? Probably not. Now imagine what happens when we constantly break our own promises. When we say, I'll wake up early, but hit snooze 10 times. When we commit to eating healthy, but keep giving in to unhealthy habits. When we promise to finish a task, but procrastinate endlessly. Slowly, without realizing it, we stop trusting ourselves. And when we don't trust ourselves, confidence begins to weaken. Quiet confidence is not about grand achievements or dramatic breakthroughs. It is about building inner trust, one small promise at a time. Every time you say, I will do this, and actually do it, you place a brick of trust within yourself. That brick strengthens your foundation, and over time, your inner self begins to believe. Yes, I can rely on me. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a bank account. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, it's like making a small deposit into that account. Every time you break a promise, it's like withdrawing money. If you keep withdrawing without depositing, the account becomes empty, and one day, it may even go into debt. But if you keep making small, consistent deposits, waking up when you said you would, exercising even when you don't feel like it, finishing that book you plan to read, your account grows rich. And when it's full, you carry that quiet wealth of confidence wherever you go. Many people think confidence is about appearing strong in front of others. But true confidence is about being strong even when no one is watching. It's about honoring your word to yourself, not for applause, not for validation, but because it strengthens the relationship you have with the most important person in your life, you. There's another subtle beauty here. When you keep promises to yourself, you don't need to announce it to the world. The strength reflects quietly in your actions, in your posture, in your choices. For example, think of someone who consistently practices a skill every day, whether it's writing, playing an instrument, or improving their fitness. They don't have to declare it to the world. Their growth speaks for them. People can sense it, even without words. That's the power of quiet confidence. It doesn't shout, it shows. Of course, keeping promises to yourself doesn't mean overloading your life with unrealistic commitments. Sometimes people make 10 promises at once. I'll wake up at 5 a.m., run 5 miles, meditate for an hour, read 3 books a week, never eat sugar again. And then within a week, they fail at most of them. Instead of building confidence, this builds guilt and frustration. The key is to start small. Make promises that are realistic and achievable. Keep them consistently. Then slowly build bigger ones. Think of building muscles in the gym. You don't start with the heaviest weights. You begin with what you can lift, and gradually, as your strength grows, you take on more. In the same way, start with small promises. Perhaps drinking more water daily, journaling for 5 minutes, or finishing one task without distraction. Every time you follow through, you add to your quiet confidence. Over time, this practice transforms you. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, and carry yourself with a calm assurance. People may wonder, what changed? The answer is simple. You kept your word to yourself. And that is a power few people truly cultivate. The quiet confidence doesn't come from pretending to be perfect. It comes from trusting that when you say you will do something, you will. And that trust is priceless. Silence is one of the most misunderstood powers in the world. Many people think that being loud, constantly speaking, and always expressing their opinion shows strength. But the truth is, noise often comes from insecurity, while silence flows from confidence. Think about it. When a drum is empty, it makes the loudest sound. But when it is filled, it becomes heavy and steady. In the same way, people who are filled with quiet confidence don't need to prove themselves through endless words. Their presence itself speaks volumes. There is a calm dignity in silence. It does not mean weakness. It does not mean passivity. It is the strength to hold back when unnecessary words could create chaos. It is the ability to remain composed when provoked. It is the discipline to listen more than you speak. And it is the wisdom to know that truth does not always need to shout to be heard. Think of the ocean. When you stand before it, it doesn't need to scream to remind you of its power, its vastness. Its calm waves, its sheer presence is enough to make you feel its strength. On the other hand, small rivers and streams often make the most noise as they rush along. In life too, those who are truly confident carry themselves like the ocean, silent, deep, and unshakable. Consider a situation where someone insults you or provokes you. The insecure reaction is to immediately shout back, to argue, to prove your worth. But silence, chosen consciously, can be far more powerful. It says, "Your words cannot shake me. I know who I am." That quiet composure is not weakness. It is mastery over yourself. Because the moment you lose your temper, you hand over your strength to someone else. But when you choose silence, you keep your power within. Silence is also strength because it creates space for wisdom. When you are silent, you listen. And listening allows you to learn. In conversations, many people listen only to reply. They are already preparing their response before the other person has even finished speaking. But someone with quiet confidence listens fully, absorbs, and then responds with clarity. This kind of silence does not just build confidence, it builds respect. People notice that you are not eager to fill every gap with words, and they begin to value your voice even more when you finally speak. Another aspect of silence is that it protects peace. So much of the stress in our lives comes from unnecessary arguments, gossip, and chatter. Choosing silence in such moments is like building a shield around your mind. It keeps your energy safe from being wasted. Imagine a person who constantly argues online, debating with strangers for hours. Compare that with someone who silently invests that same time in reading, learning, or working on their dreams. Who do you think will be more confident and accomplished in the long run? In history, some of the greatest leaders and thinkers were not known for endless speeches, but for their quiet presence. Their strength was not in overpowering others with words, but in the calm assurance they carried. Even in our personal lives, haven't we met people who don't talk much, yet when they do, their words hold weight? That weight comes from silence, from thoughtfulness, from inner strength. Silence is not about muting yourself forever. It is about choosing your words wisely. It is about recognizing that not every battle is worth fighting with noise. It is about understanding that sometimes silence itself is the loudest answer. And when confidence is built on such silence, it becomes unshakable. Fear is something every human being experiences. No matter how successful, intelligent, or confident a person appears on the outside, inside they too have fears. The difference between people who live with quiet confidence and those who constantly feel insecure is not the absence of fear. It is the way they deal with it. Confidence is not about never feeling afraid. It is about facing fear one step at a time until it loses its power. And the best way to do that is not by attempting to destroy fear all at once, but by facing small fears daily. Imagine a person who has never exercised suddenly trying to lift the heaviest weight in the gym. What will happen? They will collapse under the pressure. But if that same person starts with small weights and increases gradually, they become stronger. In the same way, confidence is built by challenging yourself with small fears each day, so when the big ones come, you already have the strength to face them. For example, if you fear public speaking, you don't need to stand on a stage in front of 1,000 people on your first attempt. You can start by speaking up in a small group, sharing your thoughts in a meeting, or even practicing in front of a mirror. Each small step reduces the power of fear. Over time, what once felt terrifying begins to feel manageable. Confidence is not born in one giant leap. It grows brick by brick through daily courage. Facing small fears also trains your mind to separate reality from imagination. Fear often exists more in our thoughts than in reality. Before an exam, we imagine failure. Before a conversation, we imagine rejection. Before taking a risk, we imagine disaster. But when we actually face the situation, we realize most of our fears were exaggerated. By confronting them in small doses, we prove to ourselves again and again that fear is not as powerful as it pretends to be. Another important thing to understand is that avoiding fear only makes it grow stronger. Think of a shadow. When you turn your back to it, it looks bigger and scarier. But when you face it, you realize it was never that large. Fear behaves in the same way. If you run away, it chases you. If you face it, it begins to shrink. That's why daily courage is so important. It prevents fear from controlling your life. There's also a hidden benefit in facing small fears. Each time you do it, you gain a little victory. It may seem small to others, but inside, it builds a deep sense of pride. Quiet confidence grows from this pride. Nobody else needs to know. You don't need to post it online or announce it loudly. The simple knowledge that you faced your fear today is enough to strengthen your spirit. Think about learning to swim. The first time you step into the water, it feels overwhelming. But you start by standing in the shallow end, then learning to float, then moving your arms, then swimming across a small distance. Slowly your fear fades and confidence takes its place. Life works in the same way. Every fear faced, no matter how small, adds a brick to your confidence. And remember, courage is contagious. When you face your fears, you not only inspire yourself, but also the people around you. They see your quiet determination, and it encourages them to do the same. In this way, confidence becomes a shared strength, built not by denying fear, but by meeting it step by step, day by day. One of the biggest reasons people lose confidence is because they are chasing perfection. They set impossible standards for themselves. And when they inevitably fall short, they feel like failures. The truth is, perfection is an illusion. No one in this world is flawless. Even the most successful people make mistakes, struggle with weaknesses, and face setbacks. The difference is they don't allow imperfection to stop them. Instead, they celebrate progress, no matter how small, and that celebration builds their quiet confidence step by step. Think of a child learning to walk. When the child takes 2 steps and falls, what do the parents do? They don't scold the child for not walking perfectly. They cheer, clap, and smile because progress has been made. That encouragement fuels the child to try again, to keep moving until walking becomes natural. In the same way, life is not about waiting until we are perfect to celebrate. It is about recognizing the steps we are taking, however small, and appreciating the journey. When we celebrate progress, we create motivation. The mind thrives on acknowledgement. If you only criticize yourself for not being perfect, you will lose energy. But if you notice your small victories, you fuel your spirit to keep going. For example, if you are trying to develop the habit of reading daily, don't wait until you've finished 100 books to feel proud. Celebrate the fact that you read one chapter today. That small recognition will make you want to return to the book tomorrow. Perfection, on the other hand, is like a moving target. No matter how hard you try, it always feels out of reach. If you say, "I'll only be confident once I'm perfect," you will wait your entire life. Progress is real. Progress is measurable. Progress is achievable. And progress is what slowly builds lasting confidence. There's another danger in perfectionism. It creates fear of failure. In the people who chase perfection often avoid trying new things because they are afraid they won't do them flawlessly. This keeps them stuck, paralyzed by unrealistic expectations. But those who celebrate progress are not afraid to try. They know that even if they stumble, the very act of starting is progress worth acknowledging. This fearless approach makes them quietly confident because they are not controlled by the fear of making mistakes. A powerful example of this can be seen in learning a new language. In the beginning, you will mispronounce words, use incorrect grammar, and struggle to express yourself. If you expect perfection from day one, you will likely give up in frustration. But if you celebrate each new word you learn, each sentence you speak, each moment of understanding, you'll find joy in the process. And slowly, without even realizing it, your confidence in speaking grows. Celebrating progress also teaches humility. When you appreciate your own growth step by step, you begin to value the efforts of others too. You stop judging people harshly for not being perfect and instead notice their progress. This creates a positive environment where growth is encouraged, not criticized. And perhaps the most beautiful part is that progress builds momentum. Success doesn't come all at once. It comes through consistent, small improvements. Each bit of progress adds another brick to your confidence. And when you look back after weeks, months, or years, you realize how far those small steps have carried you. Quiet confidence doesn't say, "I am flawless." It says, "I am growing, I am improving, and I honor every step of the journey." By celebrating progress, you remove the heavy burden of perfection and replace it with a steady stream of encouragement. That steady stream builds resilience, hope, and the kind of inner strength that lasts. One of the deepest sources of insecurity in people's lives is their dependence on external validation. From childhood, we are taught to seek approval. Grades from teachers, praise from parents, recognition from friends, applause from society. While appreciation feels good, the danger lies in making it the foundation of our confidence. Because applause is temporary. It comes and goes. If our confidence depends only on how loudly others clap for us. It will collapse the moment the clapping stops. Quiet confidence, however, is built on something far stronger: inner validation. Inner validation is the ability to look within and say, I did my best. I stayed true to my values. I am proud of my effort, regardless of whether the world noticed or not. This mindset is liberating because it frees you from being controlled by the shifting opinions of others. Imagine trying to adjust your life according to every person's approval. One person tells you to go left, another says to go right, a third says don't move at all. How exhausting that would be. Living for applause is like being a puppet with strings pulled in every direction. But when you validate yourself, you cut those strings and stand free. There's a beautiful example in the life of artists. Many great painters, writers, and musicians were not celebrated in their own lifetimes. Some of their work was even criticized or ignored. Yet, they continued creating, not because of external validation, but because their inner voice told them it mattered. They believed in their work, even when the world did not. Today, those works are considered masterpieces. What if they had stopped because nobody applauded them in that moment? The world would have lost treasures of inspiration. External applause is like sugar. It gives a quick rush of sweetness, but fades just as quickly. Inner validation, on the other hand, is like nourishment. It sustains you for the long journey. When you wake up each morning and know you are living with integrity, putting in effort and staying true to your purpose, that quiet assurance becomes your confidence. Nobody else needs to witness it. You witness it, and that is enough. This doesn't mean we reject all appreciation. Encouragement from others is a gift, and it can motivate us, but it should not define us. The problem arises when our self-worth becomes dependent on it. For example, imagine someone who posts on social media every day. If their mood rises or falls based on how many likes they receive, they are handing their confidence to the crowd. But if they create, share, or express themselves because it aligns with who they are, the likes become secondary. The true reward lies in knowing they honored their authenticity. Quiet confidence rooted in inner validation is unshakable because it cannot be taken away. Applause may fade, critics may arise, recognition may come late, but your inner voice remains with you always. And when that voice says, well done, it is the most powerful applause you can ever receive. The real question, then, is not, did others approve of me today? But did I approve of myself today? Did I honor my values? Did I stay true to my commitments? Did I take one step toward growth? If the answer is yes, then even in silence, you carry confidence. And that confidence, being quiet and self-sustained, becomes far more powerful than any external cheer could ever give. Confidence is often mistaken for arrogance. People think that if you are confident, you must walk with your head high, speak with authority, and show others you are better. But that is not real confidence. That is insecurity dressed up in loudness. True confidence is quiet, steady, and always wrapped in kindness. Arrogance says, I am above you. Confidence says, I am secure in myself. And I don't need to put you down to feel tall. Kindness is the mark of someone who is genuinely confident. Think about it. When a tree is heavy with fruit, its branches bend low in humility. But when a tree has no fruit, its branches remain stiff and upright. In the same way, people who are truly accomplished, truly confident, often carry themselves with gentleness. And they don't need to shout about their success or belittle others to prove their worth. Their quiet strength speaks through their actions, and their kindness becomes their crown. Arrogance, on the other hand, is fragile. It is like a balloon filled with air, big on the outside but easily punctured. A single criticism, a single failure, and the arrogant person feels deflated. That's because arrogance relies on comparison. It needs others to look smaller in order to feel big. Confidence doesn't play that game. It doesn't need to compete in every moment because it is rooted in self-acceptance and purpose. That is why it naturally expresses itself as kindness. Imagine meeting two leaders. One constantly reminds you of their achievements, interrupts when you speak, and makes you feel small in their presence. The other listens patiently, encourages you, and treats you with respect, regardless of your position. Which one would you admire more? The second, of course, not because they shouted louder, but because their kindness revealed their quiet confidence. True greatness always uplifts others instead of crushing them. Kindness is also powerful because it creates connection. Confidence without kindness may gain attention, but it rarely earns loyalty or love. People may fear arrogance, but they are drawn to kindness. A confident yet kind person leaves a lasting impression. Their words may be few, but the way they make you feel is unforgettable. And that feeling is what creates influence far greater than arrogance ever could. There is also a deep strength in choosing kindness when arrogance would be easier. When someone insults you, arrogance pushes you to hit back harder. But kindness allows you to respond with dignity. That doesn't mean weakness. It means control. It means you refuse to let another person's negativity pull you down. This quiet strength disarms arrogance and often wins more respect than retaliation ever would. History and everyday life are filled with examples. Some of the most respected leaders were not those who ruled with arrogance, but those who led with humility and kindness. They listened, they served, and they cared, and because of that, their confidence inspired millions. On the other hand, arrogant leaders may rise quickly, but their fall comes just as fast, because arrogance isolates while kindness unites. In our daily lives too, kindness is a reflection of confidence. A person secure in themselves can congratulate others sincerely, can forgive mistakes easily, and can encourage without jealousy. They don't feel threatened by someone else's success because they know their own worth. That's why kindness and confidence always walk hand in hand. Arrogance, meanwhile, always walks with insecurity. So confidence is not about raising your voice, it's about raising your character. The strongest people are not those who dominate rooms with arrogance, but those who fill them with kindness. Their quiet confidence becomes their true strength, and their kindness becomes the legacy they leave behind.